welcome to this deep dive into Toni Morrison's Sula.
Ooh, exciting.
I know, right? And you've given us excerpts from the book itself.
Yeah.
Along with her foreword, which is like getting a sneak peek behind the curtain in her creative process. But with a book this complex,
Right.
I'm already wondering, can a community ever truly grow without friction? Can we grow without people who challenge us?
That's such a great question.
Let's find out.
And I think it's at the heart of what Morrison is exploring in Sula. And to really understand that, we have to start with the setting.
Okay.
The bottom. It's this black neighborhood perched above a town called Medallion, Ohio.
Okay.
For those unfamiliar, the name Bottom itself is ironic.
Oh.
It was supposed to be the fertile, desirable land,
Right.
but was given to black families after the Civil War.
Right.
So right away, Morrison is setting up this theme of displacement and resilience.
That's so interesting. I hadn't thought about it like that.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's like the community itself is built on this foundation of irony.
Yeah.
And then right away, we meet Shadrach, this World War I veteran who is so deeply scarred by his experiences.
Right.
He comes back and creates this ritual called National Suicide Day.
Yes.
It's jarring, unsettling. Can you explain that a bit more for our listener?
Absolutely. For those unfamiliar, National Suicide Day is a ritual Shadrach creates where every January 3rd, he walks through the bottom ringing a cowbell and carrying a noose, inviting people to end their lives.
Really?
On the surface, it seems like a dark, disturbing concept, but it's actually Shadrach's way of trying to control his fear of death by giving it a specific time and place.
It's like he's trying to contain the chaos in his mind by imposing order on something as unpredictable as death.
Yes.
But how does the community react to this?
At first, they're terrified naturally.
Yeah.
But as the years pass, they come to accept it
Okay.
as part of Shadrach's madness.
Yeah.
It becomes integrated into their life, almost like a perverse holiday. It speaks volumes about their own relationship with death and hardship.
Right.
Their capacity to adapt to even the most unsettling circumstances.
It feels like Morrison is already pushing us to examine how we react to things that make us uncomfortable. And then there's Eva Peace, Sula's grandmother.
Yes.
Reading about her, I kept thinking about my own grandmother.
Yeah.
She was tough, made hard choices. Morrison makes you see your own life reflected in these stories.
Yeah, I agree.
But Eva is next level.
She is.
She sacrifices her leg for her family's survival, letting a train run over it for insurance money.
It's a shocking act, but you have to consider the context.
Yeah.
Morrison is asking us to think about the limited options black women had back then.
Right.
Was Eva cruel or a desperate mother trying to provide for her family in a system rigged against her?
You mentioned Sula's mother, Hannah.
Yes.
She's the opposite of Eva in many ways, right?
Absolutely. Hannah is all about embracing pleasure and desire.
Okay.
She has affairs openly and without guilt. Really?
Which is a stark contrast to Eva's more pragmatic approach.
Both women, though, are rebelling against the limited role society tries to impose on them.
Absolutely.
And then you have their daughters, Nel and Sula, whose friendship is at the very core of this book. What makes them so different?
Nel seeks stability and conformity.
Okay.
She gets married, has children, follows the path society expects of her.
Okay.
Sula, on the other hand, leaves the bottom, travels,
Wow.
and experiences the world on her own terms. When she returns, she's this whirlwind of freedom and unconventionality.
So she's like giving people permission to be themselves.
Totally.
But doesn't she also cause harm?
Well, wait.
Is that a fair trade-off?
That's the fascinating dilemma Morrison presents.
Okay.
Sula's return disrupts the community's carefully constructed sense of order.
Right.
The arrival of the robin plague, which coincides with her return, is a perfect example.
Interesting.
Like, Morrison is using the robins to symbolize the chaos Sula embodies.
These innocent birds become harbingers of unease, mirroring the way Sula challenges the community's norms and values.
Morrison often uses nature to mirror her characters.
He does.
It's striking.
Yeah.
But back to this idea of Sula causing harm.
Okay.
She sleeps with Nell's husband, Jude.
Right.
It's such a betrayal. I'm not sure I buy that she did it without malice,
Right.
as some argue.
It's a complicated act, and Morrison doesn't offer easy answers.
Right.
Is Sula acting out of spite, a need to assert her power? Or is it, as she claims, simply a desire to experience the depths of human connection, even if it causes pain?
Okay.
It's a turning point in the story,
Yeah.
and it really tests the limits of friendship and forgiveness.
It's almost like Morrison is asking, What happens when our need for individual freedom clashes with the expectations of the community?
Right.
And how much are we willing to sacrifice in the name of personal growth?
Exactly. And as we go further into the story, we see how these tensions play out in unexpected ways.
Okay, let's unpack that. What happens after Sula's betrayal?
Well, first we have to understand the bottom itself.
Okay.
It's not just a physical location. It's an embodiment of the community's shared history,
Right.
their pain and resilience.
Okay.
It's like that saying, home is where the heart is,
Right.
but also where it gets broken.
Yeah.
Morrison shows us that love and pain are deeply intertwined. And after Sula's betrayal of Nel, that sense of home, of belonging starts to unravel. Sula eventually leaves the bottom again. And when she returns years later, she's ill and nearing the end of her life.
It's interesting, though, when Sula dies, the community doesn't exactly mourn her.
Right.
There's almost a sense of relief.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, did they ever truly understand her?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I think there's a fear of the unknown with Sula. She represents this force of disruption, of change, and people are naturally resistant to that.
Yeah.
It's easier to label her as bad than to confront the way she challenges their beliefs.
This reminds me of what you said earlier about Eva.
Right.
How we're quick to judge her choices without understanding the context.
Exactly.
Maybe it's the same with Sula.
Yeah.
We see her unconventionality, her boldness is threatening, but maybe those are the very qualities the community needs to evolve.
Exactly. And that's what makes Sula's death so fascinating.
Okay.
It's not a simple good riddance situation.
Right.
Her absence creates a void, and slowly the community starts to unravel.
Wow.
They realize that the stability they craved has come at the cost of their vitality. The things they judged Sula for, her freedom and defiance, now seem like lost opportunities for their own growth.
It's like Morrison is saying that sometimes we need those disruptive forces in our lives to shake things up, to make us question the status quo, even if it's painful, even if it causes conflict.
Right.
It can ultimately lead to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
Absolutely, and it's not just the community that's grappling with this.
Oh, really?
Remember Shadrach, the war veteran with National Suicide Day?
Yeah, I'm still wrapping my head around that scene.
Okay.
This man who seemed so isolated, so disconnected from the world, has this unexpected encounter with Sula on her deathbed.
Yes.
And it changes him.
That's the beauty of Morrison's writing.
Yeah.
She takes these seemingly disparate elements like Shadrach's ritual and Sula's death and weaves them together to create these profound moments of human connection. It's in that shared space of mortality facing the ultimate unknown that Shadrach finds a strange sense of peace. He no longer feels the need to control death, to contain it.
It makes me wonder, was his creation of National Suicide Day
more
about his own fear of death than anything else? And by witnessing Sula's passing, did he somehow confront that fear head on?
It's certainly possible. And what's remarkable is how the community reacts to Shadrach that year.
Oh, wow.
Instead of fear and avoidance, they embrace National Suicide Day with a sense of revelry.
Really?
They follow him to the site of the Tunnel Project, this symbol of their dashed hopes and dreams. And there's this outburst of laughter, of shared catharsis.
Wow.
It's like they're finally releasing years of pent-up frustration and grief, acknowledging the fragility of life and the inevitability of death.
It's such a powerful scene and so unexpected.
Right.
It makes you realize that grief can manifest in so many ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes laughter is the only way to cope with the weight of loss and the complexities of life. But while the community is finding this strange release, Nel is on her own journey of reckoning. She visits Eva at the nursing home.
Okay.
And it triggers all these painful memories, especially the drowning of Chicken Little.
That scene is crucial to understanding Nell's character. Eva accuses her of watching Chicken Little drown, which challenges Nell's entire sense of self.
Right.
She's always seen herself as good, but this accusation forces her to confront a darker truth about her own complicity, her own inaction in the face of tragedy.
And then, of course, there are Sula's final words to Nel, how you know it was you.
Yeah.
It's such a gut punch.
Right.
And it leaves Nel and us as readers grappling with the nature of guilt memory and the slippery nature of truth.
Right.
It makes me wonder, is Morrison suggesting that we all have a Sula in our lives?
That's a fascinating question, and I think it gets to the heart of what Morrison is trying to do with this novel.
Okay.
She's not interested in offering easy answers or neat resolutions.
No.
She wants us to sit with the discomfort,
Right.
to wrestle with these complex emotions and moral ambiguities.
I keep coming back to that idea of friction being necessary for growth.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable, it can be painful,
Uh-huh.
but maybe it's the only way we truly evolve as individuals and as a community.
And it's through that friction, that collision of perspectives,
Right.
that we discover the richness and complexity of human experience.
It's like Morrison is holding up a mirror to society, forcing us to confront ways we label and judge those who don't conform. And through Sula's story, she's asking us to consider, what if those individuals are actually catalysts for growth? What if their disruption is what ultimately forces us to evolve?
That's such a powerful way to put it. It reminds me of something Morrison said in her foreword about wanting to write a novel that explored the whole range of human experience, both the beautiful and the unsettling, and she certainly achieves that in Sula.
Absolutely, and she
Yeah.
does it with such incredible language. It's poetic, evocative, almost lyrical at times.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about that scene where Nell describes the aftermath of Jude leaving. She talks about this gray ball of grief that follows her around. It's such a visceral image. You can almost feel the weight of her sadness.
It's a perfect example of Morrison's mastery of language. She doesn't shy away from difficult emotions. She leans into them, giving them shape and substance through her words. And it's not just the painful moment, she captures the beauty of life too. Remember when Sula, even on her deathbed, talks about having sung all the songs there are? It's a poignant reflection on a life lived fully on the richness of experience, even in the face of death.
That line gave me chills. It speaks to the idea that even though life is fleeting, we can still find moments of joy, of connection, of profound meaning. And speaking of connection, that final scene with Nell, where she senses Sula's presence even after death, it's heartbreaking and beautiful at the same time.
It's like Morrison is suggesting that even though Sula is physically gone, her spirit, her impact on the community, and especially on Nell, will continue to resonate. The leaves stir the mud shifts, and Nell knows somehow that Sula is still with her. It's a testament to the enduring power of their bond, even though it was so complicated and fraught with conflict.
It reminds us that relationships leave these indelible marks on us, shaping who we are long after they've ended. And I think that's what makes Sula such a timeless story. It speaks to these universal truths about love, loss, betrayal, forgiveness, and the search for identity.
And it does so within the context of Black life in America, exploring the complexities of race, class, and gender with such honesty and insight. Morrison doesn't shy away from the realities of racism and prejudice, but she also celebrates the strength, resilience, and beauty of the Black community.
This deep dive has been such an eye-opening experience. It's made me want to go back and reread Sula with a fresh perspective to uncover all the layers of meaning I know I missed the first time around. I'm left with so many questions, so many thoughts swirling around in my head.
That's the mark of a truly great book. It stays with you, it provokes you, it challenges you to think differently about the world and your place in it.
And what a powerful thought to leave our listener with, to think about the Sulas in their own lives. Those people who challenge us, disrupt our comfortable routines, force us to confront our own biases. Are they forces for good or bad? Or maybe like Sula, they're a bit of both. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's what makes life so interesting, so unpredictable, so full of possibility.
I think that's a brilliant takeaway. Embrace the friction, the complexity, the messiness of life. It's in those spaces, those uncomfortable edges, that we truly discover who we are.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Toni Morrison's Sula. We hope it's left you with much to ponder and a renewed appreciation for the power of literature to illuminate the human experience. Until next time, keep diving.